Am I the asshole for not wanting my MIL to not text my husband every morning when she wakes up? I have never had an issue with my MIL until the past few years. It started 2 years ago after she never offered me any condolences after my father passed away. My parents actually lived 2 doors down from my in-laws, a transition that took place several years ago when both sides relocated due to getting older and wanting to be close by my husband and me. I am not exaggerating when I say she offered 0 words of sympathy, despite being friends with my parents and spending much time with them. He died on her birthday, which meant we obviously didn't celebrate her day as intended. Then 2 days later she insisted we go to her house for cake, and even then she said nothing to me and offered no condolences, no hug, not even a "how are you doing?" So admittedly, I do have a bone of contention with her. Fast forward to this June, and my FIL passed away after a gradual progression of dementia. Since then she has been texting my husband every morning to let him know she is okay. He says he told her to do this. Times have ranged from 0430, 0530, 0630, every day of the week. The texts wake me up, and most of the time I can't go back to sleep, especially if it is 0500 or later. The kicker is my husband doesn't wake up, just me. He just keeps snoring away unfazed. I have asked him to consider texting her when he wakes up instead, since he doesn't even seem to know when she texts him. I have asked him to turn his phone on Do Not Disturb, or even reduce distractions, but he can't because of his job. He has to be available if needed, though rarely, in the middle of the night. He has a hospice job. If he isn't waking up when she texts him, I don't get the point of her texting him at these hours. During the week I can tolerate it, as I am up by 06:15, but on the weekends I would enjoy sleeping in a bit, even if just until 0700, but the MIL alarm keeps on ringing. I have even tried earplugs, but I really hate sleeping with earplugs. One always falls out, and honestly, why should I be forced to sleep like this when a simple solution would be for him to just call or text her when he wakes instead? He is refusing to budge on this at all, and gets annoyed when I even suggest he call her in the morning instead. Am I the asshole for not wanting to be woken up every morning by my MIL, who is not actively having an emergency? Not the asshole, but her texting isn't the issue here. Your husband is the issue for refusing to sort out the noise his phone makes. It's so easy to set text messages to silent. He could still then hear a phone call in an emergency. Why can't he set up a nighttime mode on his phone that lets through work calls? Are they from a small number of contacts he has listed in his phone, or could they be from any random number? Or can he mute his mom only, every night until e.g. 8 a.m.? These days phones have a lot of options. Surely there's one that would work for this scenario. Your husband can 100% shut this down, but for some reason is choosing not to. All he needs to say is, "Mom, I love the morning text, but would appreciate it if you could not text before whatever time the two of you decide, because it wakes me up and then I can't fall back asleep." The lack of sleep is really starting to catch up with me at work. I guarantee if he did that she'd stop the early texts. Not the asshole, though I think for your own mental health, you need to let her bad manners when your dad passed go. There are so many solutions. You can turn off notifications just for text, but key calls go through. Honestly, though, if he refuses to budge, tell him on weekends he can sleep in another room if he doesn't want to change. If he refuses, then when the buzz happens, shake him until he wakes up and say, "Hey, you have a text." Make sure it isn't work. Make sure he doesn't just go back to bed. If he can't understand your issue, then he can suffer the consequences of less sleep too. Make him wake up and tell him his mom has texted every single day. Wake him up every morning when she texts. Don't let him go back to sleep. He'll figure it out pretty quickly, I suspect. Also, am I the asshole for drawing an ugly portrait of someone who passed away? For context, this happened a few years ago during my second last year of high school. I recently shared this story with my friends at university, and they argued over whether I was in the wrong, which is why I'm posting this. In my second last year of high school, a girl in our grade passed away. She was terminally ill, and the school did a short assembly speech and a memorial was set up. Admittedly, I was not that close with her. We were acquainted and spoke occasionally, but we weren't close friends, per se. On the day before her memorial, I drew a portrait of her and brought it to school. I noticed that in the area set aside for her memorial, there were some framed photographs of her, as well as portraits drawn by her friends. To be clear, I was not even planning on sharing my portrait to begin with. I intended to see if other people were sharing portraits first, since I didn't want to overstep. I would also say that I am a good artist. I had a reputation as the class artist. When I placed my portrait next to the other portraits drawn of her, one of her friends came up to me and told me that my drawing wasn't welcome. I was confused, since I saw that there were other portraits, but I realized that they were all drawn only by her closer circle of friends. I was also told that my drawing was so ugly that it had to have been on purpose to mock her. Multiple people mocked my drawing. What I don't understand is that even if my drawing was ugly, that was obviously never the intention. I made the drawing to commemorate her, and she had no right to disrespect me so openly. Even if she were a close friend of hers, she didn't have any right to decide whose artwork could or could not be placed on the memorial. Am I the asshole for refusing to take down my artwork? Edit. This was years ago. I do not have the drawing or any images of the drawing. I do remember that it was a pencil drawing done on a sheet of paper. All the other drawings at the memorial were also pencil drawings. Edit 2. Thank you all for your comments. I just wanted to clarify a few things for those who have been asking. Yes, I was grieving. You do not have to be close friends to feel the emotional impact of their death. Secondly, I only mentioned that I was the class artist to corroborate the fact that I am not a bad artist, and so I was singled out for not being in their friend group. My motivation was the same as everyone else. Thirdly, this was an open memorial. People brought all kinds of things. Chocolates, pencils they may have borrowed from her, random things like that. The only people to bring drawn portraits were I and some of her closer friends. You are the asshole. You didn't draw the portrait to mock her, but you did make a girl's tragic early death about you. And even years later you're making this moment about you. Her friends likely felt like you were encroaching on this moment. They lashed out at you in grief, which isn't fair, but they were children who had just lost a friend. You should let this one go. You are the asshole. I'm not going to argue with you over the attractiveness of the drawing, but you did it for you, not her, and you are making it about you. You are the asshole who draws a portrait of someone they weren't close with who just passed away. It's either morbid, or you were hoping to score compliments off your artwork from people who are grieving. You said that you intended to honor the deceased. I can't know if the multiple people who mocked your picture were bullying you, or if it really was an unflattering picture. You admitted that you and the deceased weren't close. On the surface, since I can't know what anyone was thinking, it seems that everyone behaved badly. No one should have mocked your artwork, and you should have taken it down in the interest of peace at a funeral. Yes, H. You are the asshole. You shouldn't make the situation about yourself and your art. I understand your point, but you can make art about anything. If you do it about people who died, it always has to be with respect and the authorization of family members and loved ones, or at least it is what I consider morally correct. Info. We would really have to see the picture. Am I the asshole for telling my wife that her tasks for me were taking my time away from my parents? My senior parents live across the country and flew over for our wedding reception this past weekend. My wife just started a new job last week and has been suffering from sciatica pain, so she's been depressed and under a lot of stress leading up to the wedding. However, despite of those circumstances, she's always been easily agitated and irritable with me. She is a perfectionist who is always hard on me and on herself. On the wedding day, my wife got wasted during the after party, so she didn't have good recollection of what happened towards the tail end of the night. The next day, while she was still hungover, her sister and I went back to the venue to pick up our belongings. She had insomnia last night and told me this morning that she's been dwelling on a few details that missed the mark in her eyes, such as the bartender didn't have the station set up until 15 minutes into the cocktail hour. Lamented that she didn't spend enough time and attention on some of her oldest and closest friends, and was bummed that she didn't remember many details due to being drunk. I am usually very regimented, but I thought the wedding turned out exceptionally well. We got tons of compliments on how fun and memorable it was. So I tried comforting her by telling her to focus on the 95% positives, but she kept spiraling and looking for reasons to complain. One of which being that she thought she left her bra in the changing room and insisted that I once again cross-check the personal items list against what we picked up yesterday, and suggested that we should go back to look at what we left behind at the venue again. At that point, I was about to head out to meet my parents at their hotel, and wanted to spend as much time as possible with them over the next 2 days before they fly back. My wife said we should focus on closing out this matter first, and put it behind us. I said I and your sister prioritized on closing this out yesterday, by taking the initiative to get the stuff, while you were wasted, so don't put this on me now for having different priorities. I asked if I could share my perspective of how she always had something going on and didn't make any attempt to spend time with my parents during their short stay here. Then I went a bit over dramatic, adding that my parents may only have 10 years left on this earth, and that she was taking my time away from them by assigning me those minuscule tasks. She blew up and accused me of creating this narrative to guilt trip her. I left the house to hang out with my parents. Reflecting back to my parents' last trip here for our City Hall wedding 2 years prior, when my wife was dealing with work stress and IBS, I felt that she also avoided hanging with them. As much as I wanted to be empathetic and understanding of her circumstances, I feel that she could have made a bit of an effort if she wanted to. So am I the asshole? Edit for more context. I don't resent her for getting drunk. In my opinion, she wasn't disrespectful at the wedding since she got drunk at the after party at a bar with a group of close friends. I resent the fact that while I did the responsible thing with her family by going to the venue the next day, she chose to wait another day to sober up and freak out over her lost bra. Update: her sister has her bra. Nothing was left at the venue. Why did you marry this woman? She's cranky and demeaning and selfish. She drank so much at your wedding she doesn't remember things and had a hangover. Your parents flew out to attend not one but 2 weddings, and neither time could she bestir herself to go and greet them and spend quality time in their company. You don't need Reddit, you need a therapist or a lawyer. You don't sound like you like your new wife, much less love her. She also sounds like she has her problems. Why get married if you're just going to view and treat your partner like an obstacle? I mean that for both of you. Not the asshole. Why did you marry someone who always been easily agitated and irritable with me? She is a perfectionist who is always hard on me and on herself. As a fellow perfectionist, I'm hard on myself, not other people. I have expectations, but they're mine to manage. I sure as shit don't get easily agitated and irritable with my husband because of it. That sounds like an awful way to spend, until death do you part. Your wife can go to the venue to get her bra. If she starts complaining about the wedding, just say, well, I had a great time, and walk away. Stop feeding into her drama. YWBTA if you allow yourself to stay in a relationship like this, unless you're both equally annoyed with each other, and in that case, glad you found one another. Good luck with this marriage, buddy. Everyone sucks here for going through with this wedding. Your wife sucks for coming up with tasks and reasons to have to go back and double-check everything. OP, you just had your wedding this last weekend, and instead of spending time with your wife, you told her to her face that you want to leave and spend as much time as possible with your parents. You also were very dismissive of her concerns, telling someone to just focus on the positives is condescending and unhelpful. Both of you ugh. Good luck. Learn to talk to each other now, because JFC. Not the asshole, but like, why did you marry her? Am I the asshole for not taking responsibility for sister's cup? My 19 male, sister, 16 female, hates holding her own stuff when we go out. Whether it be shopping bags, her purse, or that Stanley cup she insists on taking everywhere, I end up holding it. Our parents don't do anything about it, and tell me to carry it to be a good big brother. I feel like my sister sees me less like a brother and more like a pack mule. Friday mom took us to the mall to spend my sister's birthday money. And of course I ended up holding everything, her purse, her cup, and her 10+ shopping bags. When we got back home, she noticed her cup wasn't there. Honestly, I had no idea where, or when I put it down. She told me to either go look for it, or buy her a new one, and I said no because she should have been keeping track of it herself. Now my family is being cold to me. Am I the asshole for not finding or replacing her cup? I feel like I should be in the clear because number 1, she needs to start keeping track of her own stuff. And number 2, she doesn't need to bring that cup everywhere she goes. She never even drinks out of it when not at home. Not the asshole. They are treating you like a pack mule. Stop allowing it and being available for such treatment. Are you in school or have a job? Something that will make you unable to carry your sister's items as she walks around like an entitled teen. It sounds like your family is reinforcing gender norms. How will your sister ever learn to be an independent woman? Not the asshole. You aren't responsible for your sister's stuff. You are allowed to say no to being her pack mule. If she can't manage her things, she should be taking less stuff. Your parents are setting her future boyfriend or husband up to be very, very annoyed at her by allowing and encouraging this, because this is basically a cross between entitlement and learned helplessness. Not the asshole. Stick by your decision on this one. She's 16, not 6. It's past time for her to take some responsibility for herself and to stop being so careless. Not the asshole. She's basically treating you like some kind of human wagon. You need to make a stand. Tell her, no, I'm not going to carry your stuff. You have two perfectly healthy hands, so you can do it yourself. You're not a mule, you're a human being, and if your parents have something to say, then tell them. If it's a man's job to carry her stuff, then tell Dad to do it. He's stronger, so he can do it better than me. She knew where you were, following her. She can go find it herself. Maybe you can use this as a valid excuse for not holding her things going forward. You probably didn't put it down. She had it to take a drink, put it down and walked away from it. That's why you don't remember.